You're listening to the Hogs Sports Network Daily Podcast. Now, here's your host, Matt Jones.
These are our demands. This is what we want. Our balls are in your court.
And that's what I thought about yesterday whenever the announcement was made that Slobberhog could come back to Bud Walton Arena court for $500,000. It sounds like a ransom fee. I guess it kind of is. It is a clever way to promote NIL, though. Arkansas, the athletic director, Hunter Yurchek, says that if they get $500,000 toward NIL by Monday at 5 p.m.,
which they've already gotten.
They've gotten so basically
So
what they've gotten is they've gotten someone who has come along and said, we will give you a $500,000 matching gift if you can
find the other
$500,000. If they can get that by 5 p.m. on Monday, Slobberhog is coming back to Bud Walton Arena. My personal opinion, it's coming back anyway, regardless of whether you donate $500,000 or not. I don't think that Yurchek dangles this carrot to the fan base only to pull it back at the end because, I mean, this is something that's important to people, and it's it's got a very sentimental value. There's an emotional attachment there, obviously, to the days when Arkansas basketball was one of the very best programs in the country. You don't dangle that out there to people only to pull it back to say, oh, well, you only gave us $375.
Right. And extortion is just such an ugly word, so ransom.
Well, I had hostage fee at first, but ransom sounds better.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, to raise the money. And if that's what they've got to do, then that's what they got to do.
It's clever. I mean, it's clever. And I've heard people that are upset, saying, hey, why don't you just put it back out of the goodness of your heart? And I understand that. You've got to find some ways to generate interest for people to join your collective.
Right.
Because the collectives, they're not going away. They're very important to the product that you're able to put on the field or on the court or, whatever your sport might be. And there's got to be some sort of return on investment, I feel like, for people, more so than just a winning team. So this is interesting to me. It makes me wonder, what else could be put out there, to entice people to give money to the collective. But more than anything, I used the word clever earlier. It's just a clever way to get people interested and talking about and giving money over to your collective.
Because you're investing in it personally.
A little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it gives people a way to, speak with their wallets, maybe more in a way that they've never been able to. And I wrote down here, like what else could be dangled as a carrot over NIL? Maybe like a field design. People don't like the field design, or there's a lot of people who don't like the field design, say at Razorbacks Stadium.
Well, they're saying this week that the Auburn game against Georgia, an Auburn fan could pay $25 go down the sideline and call 2 plays.
They could pay $50 to throw an interception like Peyton Thorne, too. How about Ladybacks? That was taken away in the same era where Slobberhog went away.
Yeah.
Maybe you see Ladybacks come back.
Maybe.
Tennessee did this. They took the Lady Vol, logo, name, whatever, away for a long time, and then they brought it back. And I know their basketball team is still known as Lady Vols.
It's interesting how the female sports have changed their mascot names over the years. There used to be, back in my day, when dinosaurs
early in my day.
Yeah, there were a lot of teams were the Ettes, the Lionettes, the Tigerettes, the whatever-ettes, and they got rid of that and went to Lady Tigers and whatever, and now there's no reference at all, which I kind of like there to not be any designation, just be one. That's my opinion.
But Ladybacks, that's a name that was it. I don't know. Maybe it was the fact that the basketball team was successful with that. But I feel like there's an emotional attachment to some people with that.
Yeah, maybe. But they're not the men backs, so
yeah. A fair point. How about War Memorial Stadium? Like, if you give us $5 million,
how about we forget about War Memorial?
We won't play at War Memorial Stadium anymore.
Yeah. How about we just remove that from the equation completely?
How about $300,000, or we're going to switch back to Pepsi on campus?
Ooh, now see, that would be that would get some interest there. That would people may pay a lot more than that.
Yeah. Blair Cartwright, who's a friend of mine, he said, is the next thing going to be cup holders at Baum Walker Stadium? You give us X number of dollars and we'll reward you with cup holders.
With cup holders, yeah. I was telling somebody the other day, the only reason I go to games at down in Arlington, the football games. The reason I make that travel trip down there is because they're the only place that has Diet Dr. Pepper in the press box.
We got a lot coming up here on our show today. Matt Hobbs, the Arkansas pitching coach, is going to join us. We'll talk to him about Razorback fall baseball practice, also about these exhibition games coming up against Oklahoma State next weekend. There's a fall classic, by the way, an open practice. All the practices are open, but it's a practice where they try to generate a lot of attendance there the night before a home football game, and that's coming up on Friday night over at Baum-Walker Stadium too. In the past, it hasn't been uncommon to see thousands of people in the stands for this baseball practice in October. Pretty remarkable to see that. Marion Crowder, who is a soccer analyst for SEC Network and ESPN, she'll also join us a little bit later in the program. We'll talk to her about Friday night's soccer matchup between the number 1 Razorbacks and number 7 Mississippi State. That'll be on ESPNU beginning at 6 o'clock Friday night. Very well could determine the SEC champion in soccer. Both of those programs are very, very good. This is the matchup of the week in college soccer. Justin Moore is having a concert at the Amp tonight, and I heard him on Chuck Barrett and Bo Mattingly's show this morning. He said that he's donating all of his proceeds to Arkansas Edge from this concert. And this is not just a one-off concert. This is a concert that has been on the books for quite some time. It's part of his tour. This is how artists are paid for the most part, is going out and touring. Yeah. And so he said, his ticket proceeds that would go directly to him, the merchandise sales that would go to him, he's taking all that money and he's going to give it to Arkansas Edge. And it was kind of news to everybody when he said this. And I went back, and Arkansas Edge had actually put out a little press release about this, but only on its website on September 25th. So they haven't done a great job
of promoting this,
getting the word out about the fact that the proceeds tonight go to Arkansas Edge. My question is, does that contribute to the Slobber Hog campaign?
Well, yeah, that, or does it knock off some of the 10,000 households that they're looking for to each give $100 a month? Does that offset that to now maybe they need 8,733?
Blake, do we have a video of the Slobber Hog? I think we have one ready, right? Yeah, I mean, this is the we're pulling it up here. This is the video that Hunter Yurachek tweeted out yesterday. If you live under a rock and you don't know what we're talking about, the Slobber Hog, this is what it looks like. And there underneath it, you can see where the court has been sanded down. And this goes back to what I was talking about, Chip. If there's not a design on the court and they're going to play Kansas on October 25th, are you telling me that they're going to submit a design and get that brought back to them within like 15 days?
No.
I think this is already
Could they put down just
deal.
a vinyl thing and then maybe every game change it? You if you give enough money, you can design your own
sign
hog.
the court.
Yeah.
10,000, you can put your signature right next to Nolan Richardson's.
I think it'd be like a bumper sticker, like for for $100K, we can put your whatever on the court.
Slobber Hog was a big deal. I mean, it was at Barnhill Arena. I've tried to go back and figure out when exactly this logo was introduced to Arkansas. I can't tell for sure, but I from what I've been able to gather is that it was at least at Barnhill when the Triplets played. So, Eddie Sutton era, Nolan Richardson era, all throughout Barnhill and Bud Walton Arena for Nolan's teams, this was on the floor. It was taken away in 2008. So, like I said, it's something that's very sentimental. It's something that holds a lot of it just holds an emotional appeal, I feel like, for a lot of people who are Arkansas basketball fans. And whether or not you believe in curses or not, there are people who believe that taking that off the court has cursed the program.
I can see that, yeah.
Eric Musselman, I think, probably debunked that a little bit over the last few years with some of the postseason success that he had. But nevertheless, Slobber Hog probably coming back to Bud Walton Arena, and I think it's probably coming back whether or not you give a $500,000 or not.
I love it. Get the T-shirts printed up. Let's go.
The SEC availability report, the first one, there's 2 availability reports each week. There's one that comes out on Wednesday night, and then there's one that comes out roughly an hour or 2 hours before each football game. This is what it looks like for Arkansas on Saturday against Tennessee. Jalen Braxton is out. Rodney Hill is out. Patrick Kudus is out, but we've expected that. Right. Some other players we haven't seen much, if at all, this year. Miguel Mitchell is out. Cafe Brown is out. Andreas Pashka, doubtful. The tight end, Sam Pittman said earlier in the week, very doubtful on him. Ty Washington and Luke Hasz, a couple of tight ends, both questionable. Hudson Clark, probable. Monte Harrison, probable. What do you think when you hear that?
Well, not having Jalen Braxton I think has been a big loss.
They think he is their best cover corner man-to-man.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm more concerned with the tight ends because essentially every tight end on the roster is injured in some way. It seems like, and I think that those injuries have had some impact on the passing game, but I think it's had a bigger impact on blocking off the edge and helping those linemen on the edge, at least with chip blocks and things like that. Maybe more so than even in the passing game.
I think Rodney Hill being out is potentially a big deal for them because Jaquindon Jackson obviously he's dealing with something. It's not enough to keep him out of the games, but it does feel like it's something that's significant enough for him not to be playing maybe as much as we would expect him to. Behind him, you got Braylon Russell. I know Rashad DeBinion is back available this week. We don't know where he is health-wise. Obviously, he was dealing with an injury at the start of the season that kept him out for the most part for the first 4 weeks, and then there was a suspension last week. And so running back is an area that I feel like is a big question mark for Arkansas too, with Hill not being out there. I mean, I think my expectation was when DeBinion was not playing that this was going to be a guy that probably got anywhere from 5 to 10 carries a game to help complement Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah. Jaquindon Jackson, this is the first year he's ever been the guy as the back. And, taking a lot more hits than what he is accustomed to. Maybe that has something to do with it. Obviously he's a little bit dinged up. There were a couple of stretches in the game last Saturday at A&M where he wasn't on the field. I think coming out of the locker room in to start the second half, he wasn't on the field to start, and then Braylon Russell was in. So it's he had cramping issues. Was the first game or second game of the season, whatever it was, and down at Oklahoma State he had issues. So that could be part of it. Who knows? They're not saying what the issue is, but you're right, Matt. There's something there.
Well, I mean, he was having an ankle issue before the season, and I think that's something that's been a little bit nagging with him throughout his career. You wonder if it might be related to that. Bob Holt wrote something kind of interesting this morning and about third down and the third down matchup this weekend. Arkansas obviously has been really good on third down this year. They were pretty good against Texas A&M for the first few quarters, and then or at least maybe for the first 2 quarters, and then they weren't very good in the second half against the Aggies. But still, on the season, they're 5th nationally in third down offense, 55.4% conversion rate. Tennessee is first in third down defense at 17%.
They do. That is not a good that's not a good thing there for Arkansas. I mean, Tennessee's defense just does not give up first downs on third down. They don't.
How tough do you think this matchup is for Arkansas's offensive front?
It is extremely tough. I mean, if Tennessee, I think Tennessee's front four is miles better than A&M's front four.
Maybe one of the best. Here's what I think. I think it'll be the best defensive front that Arkansas will see this year because they don't have to play Alabama and they don't have to play Georgia in the regular season.
Correct.
And so I think that this is probably right there with those two teams when you're talking about the best defensive fronts in the SEC.
I was thinking back. Tennessee was a team that was getting some preseason hype, but not that much, not as much as Georgia was or whatever. But man, they're just really good. Josh Heupel's done a great job of building that program, and I know he is an offensive mind, but what he's been able to do in recruiting and getting those men up front and on that defense has been phenomenal. And I think that's why they're as good as they are. It's not offensively. I think they're good because their defense is phenomenal.
What do you think Arkansas has to do on the offensive line to buy more time for Taylor Green?
Maybe handcuff the guys in front of them. I don't know. This week is going to be really difficult. It's funny. Coach Pittman came out and he gave a list of about 10 different things Arkansas needs to do well, to win this game. And you're like, well, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. But obviously it would be great if they could run the ball effectively. That would keep the ball out of Tennessee's hands offensively. But if Jaquindon Jackson is dinged up, if you don't have Rodney Hill, where's that run game going to come from?
Mm-hmm. I was talking to somebody yesterday about just the end game feel about how a game is going. Like Texas A&M, your defense is playing really well.
Yes,
but you're throwing the ball 41 times, and so that's extending the game. And when you run the ball, it shortens the game because you don't have the incompletions and some of these things to deal with. And so I feel like maybe Arkansas hasn't had a great end-game feel for how its defense is playing relative to maybe what its offense needs to do to help out and either extend the game or, shorten it.
Yeah. You and I talked on the podcast earlier this week about, in my opinion, I thought Arkansas kind of got away from the run game in the second half a little bit last week and shifted their attention more to the passing game. I'm an old school guy. I believe in running the football, running the clock down, squeezing the clock as much as you can, and limiting your opponent's opportunities on offense. That's the way I believe. And I think for Arkansas to have any maybe not any, but for them to have a serious chance at beating Tennessee, that's what they're going to have to do. Whether that's Taylor Green more on design, keep runs or whatever, but they're going to have to run the ball and squeeze the clock, and that's to me about the only way they're going to have success.
We'll have a lot more on Arkansas, Tennessee tomorrow on our podcast when it's basically all football. We're going to have David Pascal join us. He covers Tennessee for the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Longtime college football reporter, also covers Georgia. He's got kind of a dual beat, and so it'll be interesting to talk to him not only about the Volunteers but also Georgia and how they're bouncing back from their game last weekend. So we're looking forward to talking to David. I want to mention a few other little news items here. The NCAA announced some hosting sites yesterday for future years.
Good news for us.
Arkansas is going to get an indoor track championship again in 2027. Now, the Razorbacks had already been approved to host the 2026 championship, so they're going to have back-to-back indoors over at the Randall Tyson Track Center in 2026, 2027. That facility opened in 2000. It'll be the 14th and 15th times that they've hosted national championships. It's I hope that you, whether or not you're a track fan or not, I hope you realize how magnificent of a building that is and how highly thought of that building is over there in terms of indoor track. It is a world-class facility, and that's why you see the NCAA keep coming back to Fayetteville. Feels like almost year after year to come have their indoor meets there. Arkansas is also going to get some regionals in outdoor track, gymnastics, cross country in upcoming years. And then one of the things, or a couple of other items that stood out to me, Chip, is number one, some first-round NCAA tournament basketball sites were announced. You've got Fort Worth, Tulsa, Kansas City, and Omaha all in 2027 or 2028. If John Calipari can get the basketball program rolling the way that he had, even anywhere near the level that he had Kentucky, you start to think about these cities that are going to host NCAA tournament sites and whether or not Arkansas can have a high enough seed to be placed in a regional city. And all of those would be, I feel like, very big turnouts to watch Razorback basketball.
Well, yeah, go back to the heydays when Arkansas would go down and play regionals at like Reunion Arena in Dallas and close. I mean, they basically took over those arenas.
Well, and that's a good segue. They're going to play a regional in Dallas at American Airlines Center in 2028. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of regional cities that Arkansas basketball could potentially, play into NCAA tournament-wise in the upcoming seasons. Also, something that was kind of interesting to me is that the 2025 Women's College Cup is being moved to Kansas City. It was going to be in Sacramento. Most years it's over in Cary, North Carolina, the Raleigh-Durham area. Right. But it was going to be in Sacramento in 2025. I don't know why Sacramento's not getting that tournament anymore. But now Kansas City, which is right up the road, is going, in a big soccer hotbed, is going to be hosting the NCAA championship for women next year. With the way Colby Hale is recruiting and has got this soccer program going, that is notable to me because, I mean, that could potentially be a national championship opportunity 3 hours from home.
Well, in Kansas City, it's also a site for World Cup. And so they've completely renovated, even already a nice stadium, renovated it and all that to get in preparation of that. So what a great venue and what a great opportunity for Arkansas to get to play again. That hopefully and draw a good crowd up there. And I know soccer. It's funny, Matt. Soccer is not something I ever followed when I was young. Nobody played it. I was growing up in East Texas and a sports writer in East Texas. Nobody really played soccer in school that much. So when I came up here, started covering preps, soccer is a big deal here in preps. And so I always try to find someone else to cover soccer because I didn't know that much about it. You don't want to step out of your comfort zone if you don't have to. And I always say, hey, you want to go cover soccer or whatever. And so one year I didn't have anybody. So I had to go cover it. And I'm like, okay, I got to get brushed up on soccer and what means what. And I got to tell you, soccer is one of the best events to cover as a sports writer. It is phenomenal.
Those are always my favorite. Those are my favorite sports to cover, are the ones that it forces you to grow and learn something. And I actually feel people are going to because I do so much baseball stuff, it'll surprise people. I didn't care for baseball a whole lot growing up, and I feel like a lot of what I've learned about baseball is just sitting there listening to Dave Van Horn, either talking to me after a practice or just listening to what he has to say in a press conference. And, so I have learned to love baseball through covering Razorback baseball.
Yeah.
And then it's grown from there. I love watching MLB postseason, that's going on right now. I love going out and watching high school baseball. I think all of it's a lot of fun. And I've kind of gotten that way with some other sports. I would say soccer probably is like that too. We didn't have anybody to cover soccer as Colby Hill's program was getting, starting to get really good. And you could kind of see, hey, they're starting to beat a couple of ranked teams. And so I would go out there and I would cover their games. And it's kind of a similar deal there. Those are always the sports that are fun to cover, I feel like, are the ones that force you to grow.
Yeah, it won me over. I watched those games, and granted, I'm watching games at a high school level, not at Arkansas women's soccer level. But the constant movement, the athleticism it takes, the kind of shape you have to be in to play that game, the strategy. So it won me over, and now I'll jump at the chance to cover a soccer match.
One more thing, Arkansas women's golf won the Blessings Collegiate Invitational up in Johnson yesterday. Maria Jose Marion set a 54-hole course record of 11 under. She shot 5 under 67 on Wednesday to win first place honors. You wrote a feature on her about a year ago, and what I think a lot of people don't realize is that she came here as a 17-year-old, and she is an absolute phenom.
She is. She had no driver's license. She was studying for her driving test. She had taken it once, didn't pass it, so she was trying to take it again and get her. So she couldn't drive. She was having to depend on teammates and coaches to get her around. But anyway, she backed up a very good showing at the Northwest Arkansas Championships, the LPGA. She had gotten a sponsor exemption into that tournament, finished tied for 10th, and then backed that up with another great round at the Blessings, her home course. She's a phenom, and I've got a column about her and the LPGA kind of coming together. That's going to be in the next issue of Hogs Illustrated magazine, and my column focuses on Stacey Lewis is kind of making her way out of the LPGA, at least so it seems. She's not going to play any more events the rest of this year, and she's kind of moving sort of into the sunset, so to speak. And here comes Jose Marion coming in, and she may be the new face of the LPGA in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, she's very, very good. It'll be fun to track her career as it continues here at Arkansas. Just a sophomore and just 18 years old. A lot of growth that could still potentially happen there. We want to tell you can stay on top of all the Razorback sports with a digital subscription to the Hogs Illustrated app. Complete Razorback coverage in one location, 20-plus issues of Hogs Illustrated magazine each year, plus complete access to our website at wholehogsports.com. Basketball preview is out now. You can call and get your basketball preview here at our office, or you can join online, hogsillustrated.com/subscribe, or call 479-684-5509, 479-684-5509. Monthly subscriptions begin at $17. Hogs Illustrated magazine and wholehogsports.com. When we come back, Marion Crowder, a soccer analyst for SEC Network and ESPN, will join us to talk about the number 1 ranked Razorbacks in Friday night's big match against Mississippi State in Starkville. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Want to enjoy your life again? Burning, numbness, and general pain in your feet and legs might be keeping you from your daily activities. Neuropathy treatment can be effective to restoring your life. Come see what we can do at Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute in Uptown Rogers. We can treat your neuropathy pain and get you back in the game of life. Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute is located at 5102 West Pauline Whitaker Parkway in Uptown Rogers.
At Kindle King, we're proud of over 4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kindle King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design, with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kindle King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
Hey, welcome back. Appreciate you being here. I want to tell you about our friends over at Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute. They are your source for holistic wellness and your healthy lifestyle changes. Located in Uptown Rogers, the staff at Enhanced Healthcare will target your specific health plan for wellness, from neuropathy treatment, primary care, weight loss, and so much more. You can count on the experts at Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute in Rogers. We're joined now by Marion Crowder. She is a soccer analyst for the SEC Network. soccer standout at the University of Georgia. She was on the call of Arkansas's game against South Carolina last week. Will be on the call again Friday night when the Razorbacks take on number 7 Mississippi State in Starkville. Marion, appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Excited to talk to you guys. It's been a while, but hey, look, I see that we have the same kind of aesthetics going on here.
A little
Love
bit.
that.
A little bit. Hey, Arkansas, they're ranked number 1. First time in program history they've been ranked number 1. Their second week to be there. What stands out to you after you watched them in person last week?
Yeah, I talked with you last year, and I've been on the Arkansas train for a while now just because I think that they are such a unique team in the way that they attack. This year is different, as you mentioned, and a lot of that is just because of the depth that they have. And I think for the first time, everyone is recognizing there are multiple ways that this Arkansas team can score. And the 2 goals against South Carolina were a perfect example of that. You had an absolute class finish from Ava Tankersley for the first goal, right? That shows the evolution of Arkansas attackers that maybe even when I was playing at Georgia, we didn't see, 5, 8, 10 years ago. And now the second goal was a just scrap, hunt, fight, win the 18-yard box, which is how Arkansas really got on the map to begin with. So they are doing incredible stuff over there, being able to mesh new with old. And I mean, you just look at the rotation that he has in the starting 11. No starting 11 is the same, a nightmare for broadcasters like myself, but it just speaks to the depth that he can pull off the bench in any given matchup.
So you mentioned you played against Arkansas, and it's a good segue into a question I had written down here. You mentioned they've got different ways that they can score goals now, but in what other ways have you seen the program evolve?
Yeah, so a lot of Arkansas's reputation, especially when I was a player, was this notion of panic, right? The things that you would do in training to prepare for going to play Arkansas, especially at Razorback Field, it was insane. I mean, it was just like air raids. Coaches were just launching services. We were playing handballs. Everything was just up in the air because that was really where Arkansas thrived, is they were just a better aerial threat than most teams. And they had this scrappiness and this hunt to them. And so there was this notion that anytime you play them, you're going to have to weather the panic, chaotic storm that is Arkansas. And I would actually argue, and Colby and I had a conversation a couple weeks back about this. I would actually argue that that's not Arkansas anymore, but oftentimes that's still the way that teams approach them. And so there's this idea that Arkansas hasn't evolved. And so you train your team on, hey, panic, chaos. And then by the time the whistle blows, you're already psyched up mentally to play this team that has not introduced any type of panic or chaos to them. So what I think Arkansas has evolved in other ways than just the attack is that they have organized pressure now. So they went from perhaps this group that did thrive on creating aerial 50-50s. They did thrive on creating a little bit of a chaotic environment. They haven't lost that aggression, but it is organized pressure, and they want to make you feel uncomfortable. So as much credit as this Arkansas attack gets, what they've been able to do defensively has been just as impressive.
Are they College Cup good?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, look, let me go out on a limb and say this. Unanimous number 1. Now, here's the matchup I would love to see, and someone's gonna tape this and they're gonna be like, hey, remember when you said this? I just know it's coming. The matchup I would love to see is gonna be Arkansas and Florida State. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I said this on air when we did a halftime segment about the rankings, the national rankings right now. People are disrespecting Florida State for a reason unbeknownst to me. This is a Florida State team, reigning 2023 national champions. They have been playing with probably the most shallow bench of any top 25 team in the country because they've had, 6 to 7 players that are good enough to play in the U20 World Cup. They've missed them, and they still haven't lost. So I was a little confused after the tie to SMU for Florida State. they dropped. I was actually on that call. SMU is a very good team. It was a good tie. Again, a shallow bench on a hot Sunday. For whatever reason, Florida State drops to number, I don't know, 6 or 8 or something like that last week, and Arkansas sitting at number 2. Now Arkansas is deserved after that performance against South Carolina, a deserved number 1. But I do still think this is a year of show me someone who can beat Florida State at the full complement, right? I feel like that's the conversation we need to be having. Arkansas is College Cup good. Absolutely. I think that they've got the fatigue factor figured out with the rotation that they can have in the starting lineup. The matchup that I would absolutely pay as a third-party viewer to see would be Florida State and Arkansas, because that would just be a game of athleticism, a game of individual creativity. That would be a coaching matchup that would just be so welcome. Brian Pinsky used to coach in the SEC. He's known Colby for a long time. To me, it's less about College Cup and more about the team that can beat Florida State.
You were on the call for the game against South Carolina on ESPNU last Sunday. Arkansas won 2-0, like we mentioned earlier. But what stood out to me about that game is that South Carolina is a really quality program.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have a shot on goal.
No.
How rare is that to see a team that is a good attacking team not even have a shot on goal?
We looked at the stats after the game and we were like, wait a second, how do we not say this? I mean, you're talking about a Cadbury, right, who is going to be a pro prospect, no doubt about it. And you're talking about a very exciting freshman in Katie Shea Collins for South Carolina that just got back from the U20s as well. So this was an attack that really kind of was, people were wondering, how are they going to go up against a 3-back, right? How is Arkansas going to deal with the intelligence of a Cat Berry, the freshness of a Katie Shea Collins? It wasn't any problem. And that's no disrespect to South Carolina. What I think it speaks to is Arkansas's ability to take the midfield out of the game. And that's what they did for me with South Carolina. I didn't think South Carolina had midfield presence at all. I thought that Arkansas did such an incredible job of stepping into those spaces right in front of the midfield line and picking up the second balls there. And then it was just a touch and a service back across the face of goal. It speaks a lot to what the mentality is in that locker room. And I'll just tell you that I actually went to activation earlier that day. So the game was Sunday. I went to activation with the Arkansas group just to kind of be an observer, right? Of like, what are the game day vibes? What's the locker room like outside of what we get to see on television? And I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. But when I rolled up, we had music, house music going. They were in tennis shoes. They were playing Foursquare. And the reason I bring up the mentality is because the mentality we see on the sidelines from TV and during the 90 minutes of a match, that's the same mentality that they had in activation plan. I mean, they were competing in a game of Foursquare that didn't matter, but they were having fun. And I actually told Colby, I said, I think it's such a cool balance and such a unique balance that you've been able to create here between having a set of really, really high standards and expectations that all of the players expect from the newcomers, that the coaching staff expects from the veterans, being able to balance that with how much fun these girls are having that I'm now seeing firsthand. That's really special. And I think that's the kind of mentality that you see in the game that allows them to only hold to not give up a shot on goal.
You know, it was a big matchup. Arkansas being number 1 obviously affects us. There were 4,000 people at that game on Sunday. Only South Carolina, BYU, and Texas A&M have had more for a home game this year. Just as a fan of college soccer, how cool is it to see that you've got a program where the sport's really growing?
Yeah, and I'll actually bring it to the game at Mississippi State as well. You know, Colby, we asked him about that at halftime, and he said it's actually, you know, quite emotional just because he's obviously seen this program from the ground up. And so for me as a player, when it wasn't like this, don't get me wrong, we had some really, really great crowds in Athens. I went and played, you know, against South Carolina, but it's just different. And there is a buzz right now around women's college soccer that is just the coolest thing to see. It makes my job so much more enjoyable. It makes the fans have this edge. I know for the Arkansas Razorbacks, it absolutely gives them an edge playing in front of those fans at home. But it just speaks to the team and the collaborative effort. Don't get me wrong, winning is a big part of being able to put to put fans in seats, but it is much more of a holistic process to have good promotions, to create a rememberable social media presence, to be able to document game in, game out in kind of this backstage type of way. And what Arkansas has been able to do, not just the players on the field, not just what Colby and his coaching staff has created, but the buy-in from the rest of the Arkansas athletic department and really from several athletic departments across the SEC. It has been the coolest thing. I mean, earlier I think this year we saw Kentucky on with Paul Feinbaum when they were at College Game Day or SEC Nation down there. I mean, it's a buzz like no other. And the reason I want to bring in this game is because Mississippi State is a very similar team in the fact that I'm actually a native Mississippian, and they are creating so much buzz in the local programs around the state of Mississippi. And so Arkansas is going to walk into a very hostile environment coming up this weekend, and it's going to be very similar to their sold out crowd. I know that Mississippi State is trying to shoot for breaking an attendance record this weekend as well.
Mississippi State ranked number 7. They've only got one loss this year. They lost to Wake Forest in late August, 2-1. That game was at Wake Forest. Of course, Arkansas only one tie to this point, and that was against number 5 Michigan State. So they both, really challenged themselves in non-conference with those games. It feels to me, Marion, I mean, both of them are undefeated in conference play. We're nearing the halfway point of the season. This could go a long way to determining an SEC champion.
Yeah, I mean, and let me just give some more context to both of the. Obviously, Michigan State was just ranked number 1. They dropped after that tie to Rutgers. So Arkansas has beaten a number 1 team in the country, right? Mississippi State, on the flip side, you mentioned Wake Forest. This is a Wake Forest team who beat the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country back to back. Stanford and then Duke. I mean, they are a good program. So both teams, right, that, like, if we want to call it a blemish on the record, which I wouldn't, that's who we're talking about, right? 2 programs that have either been number 1 in the country or have played and beaten number 1 teams in the country. This, for me, is more, I think for both programs, here's how I look at it. Neither program has seen potentially what the other is going to do. So we already all know that you really only play Arkansas to get a glimpse of what Arkansas does. There is really, I'm not even going to say really, there's not a team in the country that can emulate the style of play that Arkansas has. So in terms of preparation, you can do it all day in training, right? But it's not the same thing as when you get the real thing in the 90 minutes. So Mississippi State's not seen this Arkansas side yet this year. They haven't seen a team like Arkansas yet this year. On the flip side, typically, Mississippi State has a very interesting formation. They like to play this 3-6-1. It's a box in the midfield more often than not, and then they have 2 wingers. Mississippi State has not been tested with the 3 front runners that I think Arkansas is going to put out. So we're going to have exciting 1v1 matchups there. And then Arkansas has not been tested yet with the box midfield. Now, why I think that that's important is because there are several ACC teams that play this box style midfield where it's going to help Arkansas in the long run to get early exposure to that in conference, because someone like a Duke, someone like perhaps a North Carolina, someone even perhaps like a Stanford or a BYU on the other side of the country, that's going to be the style that they might show Arkansas, and it will be way more beneficial for Arkansas to see this in the regular season as opposed to just seeing it for the first time in conference play. So SEC champion, yes, absolutely. This is going to give us a good picture, but I also think it's going to give us a great picture of what these teams could do in the postseason.
When these 2 teams played at the end of last year, it was a great game. Arkansas scored in the 86th minute to beat Mississippi State 1-0 at Razorback Field. It'll be a 6 o'clock start tomorrow night on SEC Network. Marion Crowder and Alex Perlman will be on the call. Marion, we appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure.
All right, good luck tomorrow night. Thank you, Marion. And when we come back, Arkansas pitching coach Matt Hobbs will join us to talk about the Razorbacks fall baseball practice. But first, another word from our sponsors.
Want to enjoy your life again? Burning, numbness, and general pain in your feet and legs might be keeping you from your daily activities. Neuropathy treatment can be effective to restoring your life. Come see what we can do at Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute in Uptown Rogers. We can treat your neuropathy pain and get you back in the game of life. Enhanced Healthcare Wellness Institute is located at 5102 West Pauline Whitaker Parkway in Uptown Rogers.
At Kindle King, we're proud of over 4 decades of design. We're continuing the legacy of great creative design by combining our brands of Kindle King, Soapbox, and Shopcart. Together, these brands represent a new focus in marketing design, with individual attention to specific areas. Through our design expertise supported by a team of talented professionals, we showcase our best. We are Kindle King, we are Soapbox, we are Shopcart, we are design.
Hey, welcome back. We appreciate you being with us. I want to tell you about our friends over at Bentonville Glass. They've been serving their community since 1971. They're committed, professional, and versatile. If you're looking for a quality leader in Northwest Arkansas or looking for skilled craftsmanship, look no further than Bentonville Glass for all your glass market needs with the highest quality products. You can come by and see them right now at 507 South Main in Bentonville or online at bentonvilleglass.com. We're excited to be joined today by Matt Hobbs. He's Arkansas's pitching coach in his 7th year with the Razorbacks. Funny how time flies. Just seems like it's going by so fast, Matt. I appreciate you being with us, number one. What have been your thoughts on fall baseball so far?
It's been exciting because it's been different. I think that's if anyone's come out to watch us, I think that I would hope that's what they'd walk away with, was how different things have been on the field and the way that we're attacking the fall and the way that we're coaching the team. Just to the whole team for a second, you just look at all of the situational offense we're trying to play, all the situational defense we're trying to play. I think we're just trying to play, I don't know if it's a different brand of baseball, but we're putting a lot more onus on being able to execute situations than we have in the past in the fall. We certainly get those things ironed out going into the spring, but we've taken a different attack with this team, and it's just been fun to coach. It's been fun to be out there and coach it. It's been fun to be a part of making things a little more competitive in the fall than just the scrimmage days. The practice days are super competitive, and those are the days I just really enjoy more than anything. The bullpens have been competitive. The offensive stuff that Bobby and Nate are doing with Coach Van Horn has been competitive. Our team segments have been competitive. And, I think that those things just bleed into just making a better team ultimately. So the team has been really, really fun to coach. And it's like, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I think the other coaches would say the same. And I think if you polled the players, they would say that this is a better way to prepare a team.
Whenever you scrimmage against each other, the risk you run is one group always looking better than the other or looking worse than the other. It was a rough start for your pitching staff there, the first weekend especially, and even that second weekend, lots of home runs. How would you assess how things have gone for your pitchers?
I've actually been pretty pleased with it, to be honest. You have some days where some balls leave the yard, but I think that that's actually a good thing as well, because it means that our offense is being able to do some things against what I think is some good pitching. Mm-hmm. So, I try not to put too much into if Gabe Gackle gave up 3 home runs in the first inning of his first outing. He gave up 1 last season against really good SEC competition. So do I think that that's going to continue to happen? He's given up, I think, 1 hit since then. So no, I think you got to be able to step back and see the forest through the trees a little bit and just say, sometimes it's going to go your way, sometimes it's not. If these things persisted the entire fall, yeah, you start to get nervous about what you think you have or what you do have. But it's been back and forth. There's been days when the offense has been really good, and there's been days when the pitching's been really good. And I think that even when you find those days when you're pitching really good, there still maybe be a guy that doesn't throw well, or if you're hitting really good, there may be 2 or 3 guys that don't hit well. But if you can look back and be able to look at the whole thing and say, are they doing the things that we need them to do? So is their stuff better than it was a year ago? Or for the freshmen, is the stuff the level that you need it to be in the SEC? Is the zone, access to the zone with their stuff better than it was a year ago? Or for the freshmen, is it good enough to be able to help you in the SEC? And I think those questions so far have been answered for me. Our guys throw strikes and they compete in the zone. Have the hitters got the better of them sometimes? Sure, absolutely they have. Does that mean we've recruited and coached good hitters? I think that means that as well. So that's a positive for the team. And I try to look at it through the lens of like, how's our team going to play? Not, is my pitching going to be good or not? Our pitching will be fine. But what's our team going to look like? And those things are exciting to me about the fall. When I look at these things through the lens of a coach, it's like, we want our offense to be able to do some things to our pitchers. We want them to run. We want them to try to divide their attention. We want them to try to get our guys in situations that they wouldn't be comfortable in. We want to force those things. We want to force that action. And does that lead to some extra base hits sometimes, or a guy leaving a pitch in the middle of the plate? Sure, it does. But I'd rather have them do that in September than be trying to coach through that in April.
I've been trying to figure out how to explain exactly what the change is offensively for you. Here's where I've kind of landed on, is that it's not small ball, but it's more small ball principles than we've seen from Arkansas over the last few years. Fair?
Yeah, I think that if you want to know why you do things like this, you do it to get more pitches to hit. Like, you do this to frustrate pitchers. You run more to get the attention divided. You bunt to get them moving off the mound. You do things to get more pitches to hit, to drive the ball to score runs. Small ball, gorilla ball, any kind of ball, if the end goal isn't to score more runs, there's no point in doing it. And I think that, like, a hitting coach or an offensive staff, it's like football. They're offensive coordinators. They're trying to figure out how to coordinate good offense. And our job on the other side of the ball is try to suppress it as much as possible. And one of the ways that you have to do that is be able to say, let's push the envelope big time right now offensively, so that helps my pitching. Like, that helps my guys be able to become comfortable with the situation, so that the first time they're seeing a really well executed safety squeeze isn't against Washington State opening weekend. Like, we see that a lot in practice. So they got to be forced to do it. So does that sometimes mean we're going to mess it up? And like I said, in September, yeah, of course that's what that means. But I think that if you're looking at the principles of, like, what an offense is supposed to be, a good offense should be able to do all of this stuff. Like, a good offense should be able to, like, you should be able to sacrifice bunt with your 4-hole hitter. He should have the skill to do that. Does that mean you're going to do it often? Probably not. But he should have the skill to be able to do it. So you might see a little bit more of that in the fall, because you're asking him to be able to work on the skill. You should be able to hit and run throughout the lineup, because that means you've got enough bat control. Are you going to do that with the 3- and 4-hole and 5-hole guy when the season starts? Maybe not, but they should all have the skill. It's like a pitcher. If I have a guy that throws 102 miles an hour and he can get swings and misses with his fastball and repeat, he still needs to be able to execute a secondary pitch. Is he going to throw those often? Maybe not, depending on his role, but he still needs to have the skill. Like, they all still need to be quick to the plate. Some will be quicker than others. They need to have the skill. So you're going to make them do it more in the fall, because that's your time to be able to work on these things, where the result isn't going to happen with a win and a loss just yet. So I think that you see a lot of these things with, whether it's offense or on the mound or your team defense, and you're asking them to just be able to express the skill. So we want our guys to be able to do it all. Offensively, we want them to be able to do everything. Now, that doesn't mean they're all going to do everything all season, but it means that they should be able to be, when called upon, if you have to call upon them to do it, they should have the requisite amount of skill to execute the play. Same thing on the pitching side.
I want to ask you about a couple of events coming up this fall. You have your Fall Classic tomorrow night, Friday, 6 p.m., first pitch. The gates will open at 5 over at Baum-Walker Stadium. This is something that's always kind of it happens on big recruiting weekends, right? Night before a home football game. And I've been over there for these. It's not uncommon to see 3, 4, maybe even 5,000 people in the stands for these. I wonder, when you have recruits in who see that, what's their reaction?
A lot of them can't believe it. Honestly, a lot of them can't believe it. They're like, they're coming for a practice, these fans. And our fans are amazing, and they have been, for a long time here. I've really noticed it this fall, just at our scrimmages. Like, I think that they've come out and, just a Saturday or a Sunday scrimmage, you see a lot of people in the stands. It's been awesome. And the reaction of a recruit is what I hope the reaction of a recruit is, and one of the reasons why we do this is how much people care about this sport here. They're gonna show up tonight. They're gonna show up tomorrow night. There's gonna be a good crowd there. because they care about the Razorbacks. They care about baseball in the state of Arkansas. And I think that speaks volumes to a family, a recruit, whoever you're looking at. But I think it's great for our own current players. You have a lot of transfers that they haven't really seen a game here yet, other than maybe on television, or perhaps they might have played here.
Mm-hmm.
But, when they show up and they go out to throw and they look around, they're like, wow, there's more people here than were at any of my games last year. And this is, it's October 4th or 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it says a lot about, the program. It says a lot about how much people care. And, I love it for the fact that it puts our freshmen out there in front of a crowd. It puts the transfers out there in front of a crowd. And then the recruits, that we do have in, from time to time on these weekends, get a chance to get a taste of it and what it would look like, maybe if they were playing out on the field. So I love it. I think that I think this is maybe the 4th year we've done this. And we used to kind of replace outside competition with it just because we felt like it was serving the purpose. But I think that it's just it's a fun event for the players, our current players. It exposes our current players. It's a great event for people that are just in town to visit us, and it's a great event for the fans. I hope it's a great event for the fans that they really enjoy. They get to see some guys they haven't seen yet. We're going to throw some guys out there that they probably haven't seen yet, some younger guys and some new transfer guys. They're going to see new guys in the lineup. It's just I think it's a really fun event. I love the Fall Classic.
And then announced yesterday, Arkansas is going to host Oklahoma State 2 times for exhibition games next weekend, Friday at 6 o'clock, Saturday at noon, both games at Baum, both games free of charge. I got 2 questions for you, Matt. Number 1, how much does playing a team as talented as Oklahoma State help your team when you're doing that in the fall? And then do you sense excitement from the players that, hey, we get to play somebody else, we don't have to play ourselves anymore?
Yeah, I'll answer the second part first. Absolutely. Like, they've been looking forward to this game. They've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. And it gives you something to go towards. It gives you something to practice towards. It gives you an end date. It's not and the red white's always a lot of fun. I mean, we're going to do this instead of that this year.
Mm-hmm.
But it just gives us something to look forward to at the end, where you're going to get on the field against a different opponent. You're going to get on the field against a different uniform. I think it allows for the competition that they've been experiencing against each other to be able to be expressed against another opponent, which is fun. And the guys will have a great time with it. And it'll tell us about our team, honestly. So to kind of get back to the first part of your question, like, you want to play somebody good. Like, I don't think there's any reason to play somebody that you just think you can go in there and pound. Like, Oklahoma State is a really good team, a great program, a historic program, close to us, and just a really, really good team to be able to measure yourself against. We did this a couple of years back with the Rangers Instructional League team against a bunch of high-profile pros, and I thought that was great for us. We did it a few years ago against Oklahoma. I thought that was great for our team. We've been trying to expose our players as much as we possibly can with situational baseball. We've been trying to force them to do things offensively. We've been trying to really help them do things defensively. And when you play a team like an Oklahoma State or a team of that caliber, they're going to ask you to do things on the field. They're going to make you do things. They're going to make you hold runners. They're going to make you make pitches. Offensively, they're going to make you execute. They're going to make you stay inside the strike zone with the pitchers that they're going to throw. And I think those are the kind of things that are just great for your team, no matter what the outcome is, honestly. I mean, of course, every time you hook it up, you want to win. But what it's going to do for our team is expose some areas where we can start looking at our team a little bit more critically now. Now that we've seen them against somebody else, we can start looking at them. All right, well, we really need to address X, Y, and Z going into our off-season period, or I guess it's the preseason period, and then be able to hammer down on the first couple weeks of practice when they get back. We need to hit this, this, and this, because this was exposed to us by another opponent that is somebody that we will play, a team that's equally talented as anyone will play in the SEC. So getting a chance to do this in the fall is going to be really, really good for us. And I like the way we've done it in the past where we haven't played outside competition. I like the way we do it when we do play outside competition. I think that it makes us do different things, which ultimately is going to make the team better.
You're always going to get asked about starting pitchers. I mean, it's just kind of how the sport goes, and you don't have to choose your starters till mid-February, but you can usually kind of get a sense, I feel like, watching your teams, who you're evaluating by who are starting these scrimmages. And I've written down 6 pitchers here: Gabe Gackle, Gage Wood, Landon Beidelshees, Zach Root, Cole Gibbler, Ben Bybee. Fair that they're being evaluated as starters, or is there anybody else maybe who isn't pitching right now who could be fitting into that evaluation?
See Tate in that role too. Tate McGuire. He started up in the Cape, so we didn't see a reason to continue to start him this fall. He's throwing a little bit, but he's on a limited workload. And then the other one is another freshman, Carson Wiggins. He's a guy that you could look at as potentially a starter, but those 6 are fair. You know, you got the 2 transfers that I'm high on. Both of those guys, Landon and Zach, have both done a really nice job throwing it over the plate, showing some good stuff. And, you know, honestly, it's been good for them to be able to get in there against a really good offense. And they've had some great days and they've had some not great days, but that's kind of for everybody. But those 2 guys are guys we feel like will be right in the middle of everything, and have an opportunity to win rotation spots. You know, that's why they're here. Honestly, like, you don't bring those guys in if you don't expect them to be competing for those spots. We brought them in because we knew we were gonna have a need with losing the entire rotation of the draft. So we knew we were gonna have a need for some older guys. We liked what we had in place. I mean, certainly with Gabe, you know, with Gackle has been great this fall. Honestly, he's throwing the ball really, really well, and he's throwing a ton of strikes with really good stuff. Honestly, the guy that's probably pitched the best out of anyone has been Gage Wood. Like, Gage Wood has probably had the best fall of anybody. And you could see that, like, he left some clues for us at the end of last season that could happen. Like, he was really good down at A&M. In the game where we won the West, he gave us 5 really good innings on the road against a College World Series team, and then went out and gave us a chance in the regional. So Gage did some really, really good things at the end of the season, and then he went in the Cape and was really good in the Cape. So he kind of let us know that this was going to be something that we could expect, and then came back and he's done it. He's really, really done it. He's posted. And then Cole Gibbler has been kind of like, not necessarily a surprise because we knew he was good, but whenever a freshman comes in and is as dominant as he's been for the most of the fall, it's always a little bit surprising. I mean, he's been very, very good. I think he's pitched 4 times or maybe 5, and 4 of the 5 or 3 of the 4 have been totally dominant. He's been very, very good in the starting role. We could see Cole pitching out of the pen, though, too. I mean, I think he can do a little bit of everything. And then we kind of know what we're going to get with Ben. You're going to get strikes. You're going to get really good stuff. And you're going to get multiple pitches that he can throw in pretty much any count. He's another guy that's right in the middle of everything. You know, we haven't made any decisions yet in terms of, like, what the rotation is going to look like. I feel like last year we kind of went in with a really clear plan of what was going to happen. And maybe that was good, maybe it wasn't, for some other development of some other guys. But, you know, I think this year it's a little bit more open-ended. I just feel like there's good options, and, you know, whoever wins those spots, that'll shake out in January, I imagine, or early February. But you certainly have the 8 that I mentioned are kind of those 8 guys, I would imagine, are the ones that are going to come back as starters in the spring, and we're going to build those guys up and see where it takes us.
You had such a good year pitching last year, and you had the National Pitcher of the Year. You lose him. It feels weird to think, but I don't know that it's really outside the realm of possibility that you guys could be better this coming year just with all the experience that you have coming back.
Yeah, I mean, Superman's not here anymore. I mean, he's not.
Flew
So
away.
shouldn't be just looking at, like, well, who's going to be the next Hagan? Like, look at the record books. At the University of Arkansas, there hasn't been too many guys like him. And I think it would be unfair to just say, well, no, you know, Gackle was a freshman All-American, and so was Hagan, and that means Gackle's the next Hagan. I don't think that's fair to Gabe. Could he be? Yeah, sure. I mean, he's really good. But I think the depth of the staff is good. Now, you always say that in the fall because they haven't had to do anything yet against other opponents. You always feel good about your depth right now. So that will shake itself out on whether or not we'll be deeper. We hope that we're reliable in 3 spots on the rotation, on the weekend rotation. We hope that we can be reliable in 3 spots. I think if you can do that, you have a chance to be statistically probably better than you were last year. Are you going to be better on Fridays? I don't know. I mean, 84 innings and 161 strikeouts is tough to do with a WHIP and an ERA and the National Pitcher of the Year and all of the accolades that Hagan received last year. It's going to be tough to repeat that, but We also in 21 had Kevin Kopps, who was, again, Superman. You lost Superman, and in 22 the staff was probably better. And that's not because we lost Kevin. It's because other guys had to be. You try to like create him with 3 or 4 other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Try to create and handle his workload. And the same thing has to happen with Hagan. You're going to have to be able to do that with some other guys. It might not be just one person. It might be 3 guys. You need a step up year. You need like a big year out of Christian Fouch. I think we're all expecting a big year out of Christian. And he was good for us last year, but now he needs to elevate. Gage Wood, same thing, was good last year and has been good since he's been here, but now he needs to elevate. Gackle needs to elevate. The transfers need to come in and do the things that we think that they can do. Last year, you had some guys that could kind of cruise along the coattails of some other guys, and I don't want to have that luxury this year. I want it to be a little bit more well-rounded. And some guys have to step up, and some of the young freshmen are going to have to go out and do it, like they always do. So, better or worse than last year, who knows? I mean, that's a long ways away still, but I can see it being pretty good. Like I like what I see certainly with a lot of the guys, especially some of the like Steele Eves is not a guy I was counting on to be great this year. Honestly, I liked him, and I thought it was good that we were bringing him in because you could see the future for him. But he's been really good, and maybe that's a guy. I mean, who knows? He's a freshman, and it's just the fall, but who knows? Maybe he turns into something that ends up being a guy that you use, and it's a guy you might not have been counting on coming in, but he's opened my eyes for sure. And, that stuff's exciting to me when you start to look at some guys that you might have been, I don't know that wrong's the right word, but you might not have expected enough out of.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be able to give you more. And, I think that with the addition of those guys and some of the older guys just continuing to get better, like Parker Coyle needs to have a good year. Like, I don't know any other way to say it. Like, he's been here for 2 years now. He's pitched for 2 years. He needs to have a good year this year. This is his year. So we need a big year out of Parker. We need more things out of all these guys. We need to get Hunter Dietz healthy. We need to get Fish back on the mound. You need to, maybe we can get something out of Aiden Jimenez this year as a transfer from Oregon State who's really good. I think that these things have to evolve and have to happen if you're going to do some of the things that our guys did last year. So could it be better? Sure. Finding the pieces and where to put them is going to be the challenge with this group, because I think that there's guys that can do multiple things, which is exciting.
Has any one hitter been harder to get out than the rest?
I think that Brent Iredale has had really good at-bats. And I guess when I look at him, I can see a path to getting him out. But if you miss, he can hit a home run. So it makes him challenging. Certainly makes him challenging. The one that's really like stood out for me just because I didn't know what to expect at him is Brenton Clark, the freshman. Mm-hmm. He's been really good. Left-handed hitter, has played the outfield, been good, but he's opened a lot of people's eyes. And Kuhio Aloy, V's brother, has really come into his own the last couple of weeks and proved to be a very difficult out. Like those guys have been challenging, and a lot of them honestly have been really good. Rocco Pepe, before he missed a couple of weeks, but he's been really good, and I like a lot of them. I like the move that Ryder Helfrich's made offensively. He's always been really good behind the dish, and for me as the pitching coach, like I love that part of him. And he's always had talent at the plate and ability, and we've all seen some electricity. Look back to the Auburn game that he won for us with the big homer, and some of the other big hits he got last season, and some of the electric things he did. And now it's just more consistent. There's just more consistent, over time. And then obviously V has been amazing at shortstop and swung the bat really well. So I just named a lot of them. I think that's a good thing. I like our offense, and the one that I didn't name that is just like I love him is Charles Davelin. Like he looks like a leadoff hitter. It's like he's got some electricity. He's tough. Like I love watching that kid play. So there's just a lot of really exciting offensive players, dynamic kids that obviously the offensive staff's done a really good job with them.
Matt, you're always great with your time. Always fun talking to you about Razorback baseball.
Appreciate you, Matt. Thank you very much.
And we appreciate you being with us today. We'll be back with one more podcast on Friday previewing the Arkansas-Tennessee football game. Until then, hope you'll join us at our website, wholehogsports.com. Have a great day, everyone.